My name is Kaylin Freeman. For my Intercultural interview essay, I interviewed one of my friends back home, and her name is Isabel Martinez. This interview took place November 27, 2025, and we discussed a variety of different topics. One of the first topics that we talked about was her culture and what did it mean to her and how it shaped how she lives her everyday life. She said the meaning of culture to her was a person's background or the history of where they came from. We then talked about her family and how important family was to her culture. Family is a big part of her culture and she loves her family. And she said family, the meaning of it is the people that you care for, the people that you love, the people that you feel more comfortable around. And we talked about the people in her family that meant the most or that it is the most important. And those people are her grandparents, because she said that she feels like there's what connects her to her culture, and they provide and they take care of their family. We then started talking about her parents and their success, their family success. She said that she wants to be successful like her parents. They have a good paying job. They're able to provide for their family. So she said she wants to take after them in doing that. We also talked about how her parents said that education is very important, and she takes that mentality and she wants to use that for the rest of her life. She always had good grades, and she always made sure that education was one of the most important things to her. We also talked about punctuality. She is not very good with punctuality. She uses it sometimes, but mostly often she does not. We then talked more about her actual culture and the stuff that she does inside of it, and that is the food, and that is one of the main things that can explain or express a person's culture. She talked about the different foods that she eats and how important it was to her. Some of the meals that she eats are elotes and barrera. One of her favorite foods is a well-known food in her culture, which is, if I didn't mention before, Mexican Latina. One of her favorite foods are tacos. Like I said, it's a well-known food in her culture, but it is her favorite. We also talked about how her grandparents, how she used to stay with her grandparents from time to time. She did not live with them for a long period of time, but she was under their care. She would be under their care very often with her siblings and her cousins, so that may have an influence on her background and her culture and how she does certain things. We then talked about her religion, and religion is a main part of people's cultures. She does practice the Catholic religion, and her family does as well, but she feels like that her family is starting to slowly steer away from religion, so she does continue to practice by herself. Even if her family does not practice with her, she reads her Bible. Sometimes she will go to service by herself, or she will just pray by herself, because she feels like that her family's steering away from it, and she wants to continue that, and she also wants to pass that religion down to her children. We also talked about the gender roles in her family, which are similar to the so-called norm. Sometimes in society, the men are supposed to provide, and they're very hardworking in the family, and the women are supposed to stay at home. They're supposed to cook, they're supposed to clean, they're supposed to take care of the kids. So that is part of the normal roles in society. So that is how some cultures can be similar. We also talked about her culture and the holidays. One of the holidays that they celebrate is Dia de Muertos, which is Day of the Dead in English. If you watch the movie Coco, then you'll know about the holiday, and you'll be able to better explain it, and you can actually see some of the practices and some of the things that they do on that holiday. Language is a big part of their culture, and that's another thing that we discussed. She mostly speaks English. That's her main language, but she does speak Spanish around her family when they have family gatherings, or when her mom or her parents, they do like speak Spanish to her. She will speak in that language, but she mostly speaks English. We talked about how she faces racism and how racism has really affected her culture. And basically, to sum it up and wrap it all up, to talk about the essay, is in the interview, if people were to better understand, to get a better understanding of somebody's culture and do interviews like this, or just get to know somebody that's from a different culture, we will be able to better understand them, and they may have a different viewpoint of their culture. We'll be able to better interact with them. We'll be able to better understand them. We'll be able to work with them. So understanding somebody's culture is very important, and to getting to know them and just being able to be in the same environment with them and be able to interact with them more.